Hello and welcome to Friday Hebrew, or is it? Actually, I'm toying with going where angels fear to tread, and that is Aramaic. I know a little bit of Aramaic, but not a lot. There are certain portions of the Old Testament that are in Aramaic, a little bit of Ezra, and kind of a big swath in the middle of Daniel. And so I thought, why not? Let's at least this week, and we'll see. Maybe we'll see if we can continue this. Let's look at the Aramaic of Daniel, and you learn by doing, as John Dewey said. And so let's learn some Aramaic by doing it, and we'll learn. That means there may be some rough edges, but why not? Okay, so Daniel 2 is where the Aramaic starts. So Daniel 1 is in Hebrew, and the first 3 verses of Daniel 2 is in Hebrew. Aramaic is a related language. It existed alongside of Hebrew. So for a long time, I thought there was Hebrew that developed into Aramaic over time. But actually, they existed alongside each other. Aramaic became the lingua franca, the business language of the Babylonian Empire, for example. So Aramaic was known very much for doing business, and Hebrew was, of course, more of a local Israel thing, much less used, as it were. There are still some who speak Aramaic today. I've met a Wesleyan woman pastor who immigrated from Iraq. Again, the Iraq War has wreaked havoc with that community. But there are some people who still speak Aramaic even today. I think it's mostly a dying language, unfortunately, but that's the way of the world. I hate to say, but let's dive right in. Okay, so Vaya Dabaru. So it's the Yabba-dabba-doo, Vaya Dabaru. So you can this is Hebrew. So the first line here is Hebrew. The davar in the middle is to speak. So the word davar means word, and davar in the verb form is to speak. So this is a converted imperfect, which you may have seen if you've been following these videos at all. Vav, patak, doubling, but the doubling tends to go away when you have a vocal schwa under it. So it's a strange rule to me, but it is what it is, right? So this implies that this is a past tense, a preterite. They used to call it a converted imperfect. The yod is a sign of the imperfect. Yod on the front and a sharuk on the end suggest that it's third masculine plural. So translates, and they said. And who is the they? The they is the hakasdim, the hakasdim. So here yod mem in Hebrew is a masculine plural absolute ending. So it's a plural, Chaldeans, and then kasad. I don't know what happened with why do we transliterate with an L when it's an S? Often a somic, by the way, instead of a scene. The Chaldeans is just a name for those who, basically the Babylonians is what it's referring to, the people that live in that part of the world. And the Chaldeans said, Lamelech, to the king. Lamed is two. The patak doubling is all that's left of the word the. As we're about to see, the is different in Aramaic. By the way, Hebrew and Aramaic are closely related. It's kind of like Portuguese and Spanish I would say, similarity between Hebrew and Aramaic. Not that different. You can you might be able to understand a little bit of what the other person's saying if you have a good ear for it. But so the Chaldeans to the king, Melech is king, of course. And then you have this strange Aramite. It's like, switch to Aramaic. What's up with that? And of course, this is a matter of great discussion over the years in scholarly circles. Why all of a sudden does the book of Daniel switch to Aramaic? I mean, you could understand them switching to Aramaic because they're quoting somebody speaking in Aramaic, although there's other places in Daniel where people would have been speaking in Aramaic, because that's the language everybody would have been speaking in Aramaic, I assume, in the setting of Babylon, right? Did Daniel speak Hebrew? Probably, well, maybe he did, but you see what I'm saying? To switch at this point seems a little arbitrary, and it doesn't just switch the dialogue, it switches the narrative too. And so what's going on here? And I'm assuming, and maybe this is a bad assumption, I'm assuming that it might have to do with the context in which Daniel was written, which, by the way, is debated. Maybe I should say that there is a debate between whether Daniel dates to the 500s, which is certainly the setting it portrays. Does it date from the 500s, or does it date to the 2nd century BC? I don't know whether I'll have opportunity to talk about that debate at some point if I keep going with these videos, but not today, because today I'm wanting to do this verse. So we switched to Aramaic. All of a sudden it's just kind of, and the Chaldean said to the king, Aramaic, and then it switches to Aramaic. Okay, I assume it has something to do with the setting in which Daniel was written. I mean, I'm not an expert on Daniel, not at all, but I'm guessing that probably Aramaic. Again, maybe I'm wrong. This is what my intuition immediately goes to. Aramaic must have been a language of greater comfort for the author of Daniel than Hebrew. And so some of it was left in Aramaic. That's just always been kind of my first impression. I'm not saying that's what's going on here. I'm just saying that's always been the first thing that's popped into my mind. Okay, we switch now to Aramaic. Begin to shake. All right, Malka. This is Melech also, but now instead of Melech, it's Malka. The vowel shift here to an A from an E that's not surprising, because Hebrew does that too when you extend the word Melech. But what is different is, whereas the article in Hebrew is on the front, hey patak doubling, the article in Aramaic is on the end. So this kamatz aleph at the end, malka, the kamatz aleph at the end, and we have another one here, kamatz aleph here at the end. That's the word the. In fact, you may have heard of the word Abba. The at the end of Abba is kamatz aleph, the Father. Av, Father, Abba, the Father. So Abba means the Father, literally, or woodenly. I don't think daddy is quite right, to be honest. But again, that's something else. Resist tangents, Ken. So this is the king. The king, right? La almin. La almin. Now, la is still 2, so that's something Aramaic and Hebrew have in common. And you might be able, if you know much Hebrew, you might see in the alam here, olam. So, O king, to forever live. O king, live forever. May I live 1,000 years and never hunt again. Anyway, O king, live forever. King, live to the ages. O king, live to the forevers. So I've gone ahead and I've put a little bit of a Hebrew subscript under here, so that we can kind of track the differences. So this will hopefully, I actually put off learning Aramaic in seminary because I was afraid I felt like my Hebrew, I went to the first day of Aramaic class and I thought, my Hebrew is not strong enough for me to weather this. I'm just going to get really confused. So I hope I'm not messing with your Hebrew if you're just learning Hebrew, but I'll continually try to do this comparison for my own good so that my Hebrew is solidified as I work on the Aramaic. But so I already mentioned that Hamelech, this is the way it would look in Hebrew. You have the same basic 3 consonantal root, but instead of hey patak doubling on the front, you have the kamatz aleph on the end. And so the new thing to learn here is kamatz aleph is the in Hebrew. Now I messed. So yeah, okay. So this is the Aramaic at the bottom. the grammar bit. So olam, this is the Hebrew. Sometimes the vav is there, sometimes it's written defectively without the vav. But so the three basic roots, ayin, lamed, and mem, are the same. The lamed is the same as Hebrew, but we have a different ending here. So up here we see im. Im is the masculine plural ending. Here the plural is hirik yod nun. And so this is a plural ending here. O king, to the forevers, to the forevers! And then the command, kayi, live. O king, so you can see that the word the here is used a little bit like a vocative. O king, even though it's the king, kind of like when you say Abba, can be father. But anyway, O king, live forever. Live this is an imperative. The imperative in Hebrew would be yichye, but that's there. The similarity. So the imperative. I'm sorry, this is an imperative. Live, a command. In Hebrew and also in Aramaic, generally to form the imperative, you take the imperfect and chop the front off of it. But this is irregular. Both of these are two imperatives next to each other. King, live forever, and say the dream. Tell us the dream. But let me just say, after doing a little bit of research, these are both irregular. And so I'm not going to worry too much about trying to explain why this is the way it is. I assume normally it would be a vocal schwa under the first letter, but these are both gutturals. So, and ayin, or aleph. Aleph is a glottal stop. It doesn't even make a sound. It's a constriction of sound. So often gutturals open up the sound a little bit. So I'm assuming that the reason why these have gone to ketef sagols, is because that a vocal schwa wasn't just, it's not in my contract. I'm a guttural. I don't do vocal schwas, not simple ones at least. I do only the compound ones. And so it's opened up the sound a little bit. And then it should be really I think a holum after this, or no, it should be a sharuk. It should be a ... a 3 dot slide, and it's not. So I don't know why these are a little irregular, but I know what they are. This is from kaya, and I do know that third hay verbs, that is verbs whose third consonant is a hay, the hay tends to go away. What the hay? But the hay tends to go away. And so I'm not surprised that there's no hay. But chayi, live, period. Okay, and now the next sentence. Say the dream. Tell us the dream. So this is a second masculine singular, like this is, because it's talking to a king who's singular and masculine. Tell, say, again, this is what the imperative would be in Hebrew, there at the bottom. Okay, the dream. Again, the at the end, kamatz, aleph is the, kalom, tell us the dream. Now, this is a strange thing. The text, we have it's usually not voweled, because it's supposed to be what it is down here, to your servant or to your servants. So we have what's called a kathiv kereh. It's written one way, but it should be pronounced another way. This is the way it should be pronounced. La'av dak, la'av dak, your at the end. Although this is a strange, to your servant, this almost looks Hebrew to me. So anyway, there's a weirdity going on here at the end. No vowels are written in the text, and this is the way it's supposed to be read. La'av dek, dak. So avad, you can see in the middle, is servant. La is to. This yod would imply a plural normally in Hebrew. And then the thing about the kaf is it's singular, whereas we have Chaldeans plural. So this is just weird. And I'm not sure what's all going on there, but we get the sense of it, right? Tell us the dream. Tell this dream to your servants. Okay, Well, how did it go? This is our first day of dabbling in Aramaic in Daniel 2:4. So the intention is next Friday to do Daniel 2:5, which is entirely in Aramaic. Begin to shake, get nervous.